Hello and welcome to something a little bit different from me today. I'm going to be talking about an anime. But before we start, let's get these three things out of the way. Yes, I'm slaphead bald now, like Krillin. And yes, I've put on a lot of weight since the last time I appeared on camera.
Come here, I'm gonna eat you!
And yes, I'm drinking Coors Light because I'm white trash.
Hell yeah, I'm a dirty white boy. I'm a lean, mean, brown beef machine.
I actually don't really like Coors Light. I went to the shop and this was the only beer they had, so... So the other day I was feeling fat, lonely and depressed. Like usual!
Of course!
And I was looking at these top 10s of different animes that came out last year that I could watch. But I did try an anime called Tokyo Revengers because it was a time travel anime and I'm a sucker for those. Two of my favourite animes of all time are Steins Gate and Erased, so there you go. But for whatever reason that show just didn't stick with me. The premise was kind of stupid and convoluted and the main character was a whiny little git. I did however vibe with the start of the show where the main character was a middle-aged loser who hated his job and his life. And because this show didn't grab me, I went back to those top 10s and I found this anime with an interesting art style and a fat walrus taxi driver. That alone had me intrigued. And I started the show and I was instantly hooked by the mystery and the main character, who much like the character from Tokyo Revengers was listless in life and kind of a bit of an asshole. I think I'm just drawn to broken characters because I am myself broken. For example, Clancy Brown's character in Detroit Become Human is one of my favourites.
You listen to heavy metal?
Well, I don't really listen to music as such, but I'd like to.
He's just like me. And I enjoyed this show so much that I wanted to make a video about it, so I did. Crazy how that happened. So let's talk about Odd Taxi and why it's worth your time in as non-spoilery way as I can. Odd Taxi operates in a world full of anthropomorphic animal humans that look aesthetically pleasing and don't really have much rhyme or reason to them. But that doesn't matter because the art style and animation in this show are absolutely gorgeous and they just get you immersed almost immediately. And don't worry, it's not some weird furry stuff like that Netflix show Beastars or whatever it's called.
Put your pants on and stop breaking shit!
The whole thing of following around this middle-aged walrus taxi driver gave me vibes of Yakuza 5, which is not a bad thing. And incidentally, the voice actor for Kira is actually in this show. Well, I don't know for sure that that's him, but it sounds just like him. But something that speaks volumes to how good this show is the fact that there's only subs for this show at the moment and I still watched it. Yes, I'm one of those heathens that prefers dubs over subs because when I'm rotting my brain with anime, I don't want to be reading. What am I, a nerd? Nerd! Maybe a little bit. I went to watch this show in a completely legal fashion, of course. Do what you want because a pirate is free, you are a pirate. And I saw that it only had subs and I watched it anyway because I like the look of it so much and I'm glad I did. And after watching this video I'm hoping that you will go watch it yourself because that's kind of the idea. After sailing the 7 seas and finally finding a place to watch this show, I got absolutely hooked with the first episode. Now this section is going to mildly spoil the first episode for you, but I'm hoping after I lay out the premise you're going to go watch it yourself in your little pirate ship. So you might be thinking, why is a show about a walrus taxi driver so damn interesting? And if you're asking yourself that question, you probably shouldn't be watching my videos because you should know what is awesome about a walrus taxi driver. I honestly would have been happy if this show was just literally the trials and tribulations of a walrus taxi driver, but it is so much more than that. Oh, and one thing quickly, the theme tune is an absolute banger. So the first episode opens with something dropping in the ocean which I assumed was a body straight away. And then our main character awakens from a little on-job nap and we hear a news report talking about a missing schoolgirl. Might be a coincidence there. And then we get a bit of ambience of him driving around listening to the radio doing his job. And this scene just sucked me in because it was so warm and cozy like an old man blanket. And as a man who's worked driving jobs for many years, I can relate to him just driving around listening to the radio all day. Apart from my listen to podcasts because, you know, I'm not an old man.
Alex, have you ever done DMT?
No.
Do you want to?
Well, I mean, I'm an old man to you lot, probably. But honestly, this whole scene makes me think of sleeping in the back of my parents' car as a kid on long driving trips to Scotland. And then the ambience breaks for an anime J-pop song while showing off all the side characters we're going to be seeing through the course of this show. And that's one thing this show is very good at, subtly dropping things that are going to be very important later on in the background. And lots of my favourite media does this, and it just goes to show how well written this show is. It's almost like if Edgar Wright did an anime in its perfection of the execution. Kinda like how everything in Shaun of the Dead just sort of wraps around and meshes into the story and then comes back around later. And as I'm watching this a second time, I'm noticing things that I didn't notice on my first viewing because I didn't know about them. Basically, this show is a master of restrictive narrative because we're being shown things that we'll later understand.
Oh yeah,
And trust me, this show gets bloody dark later on, even though it looks all happy-go-lucky. But with our first passenger in our Walrus's taxi, we get an example of something that wraps around and becomes important later on, this selfie. And we later find out that the police are after this monkey that photobombs this selfie. And then we see more news reports about the missing girl, and we find out before she went missing she was in Odokawa's taxi. And this loner seemingly has a house guest that he's talking to like they want to hide out at his place. Did he kidnap the girl? Is the girl hiding there because she's in danger? All of these things put hooks into me and made me want to keep watching. And then we see that the police are after him, thinking that he's involved with the missing girl. And it really seems like our boy has something to hide. Then the police take his dash cam footage. Our walrus boy impresses the nurse from his doctors with his top quality autism. Then we see the cop gives the dash cam footage to the wanted criminal. And this episode ends there, and I was just like, what the hell is going on? And I want to keep watching this. But the mystery wasn't the only thing that made me want to keep watching the show, so let's try and sell it to you more, eh? Our main character, Odokawa, was the main reason I enjoyed this show. I just love his design and he kind of reminds me of myself. Even in this conversation with his first passenger, you get to see what he's really like. He's blunt and he doesn't really understand social cues, but you just can't help but love him. It's a classic call to adventure tale. You have this man who's set in his ways and doesn't want any change, and then change comes a knocking and he has to deal with it. And you just want to see him sort everything out and go back to his carefree existence. He's kind of like a walrus version of Carl Pilkington.
I'd fly in, I'd go bullshit.
Even though he's a really abrasive person, you can tell he really cares about the few people that he's let into his life. And he may come off as very slow, but he's actually very good at getting back at people that cross him. And he just has that broken person aura that I'm attracted to in my characters. And the crazy goth women that I date.
This woman has duct tape in her fridge. Her fridge is duct taped together on the inside.
And this isn't really a spoiler because you can tell what's going on in the first episode, and in the second episode they just spell it out anyway. But his relationship with the nurse is the cutest thing ever, and I absolutely love it. This scene where he finds out that she likes him is bloody priceless. The way they bounce off each other is magic because in their own ways they're both really strange people. This scene where they're talking about the broken windows theory really hit home hard for me.
そうそう、割れ窓理論。心だってそうだからね。
And this shows that this series can be earnest and deep when it wants to be, and also incredibly dark at times as well. One thing I really appreciate about this show is the way the episodes are structured. Because there's a few times we take a break from our walrus friend and go with a character we don't know anything about. And the whole time you're seeing this, you're like, why the hell am I being shown this character? And as you watch, you slowly realise why and go, wow, this show is really amazing. For example, there's an episode where we follow a man whose phone was broken by Odokawa by accident. This one is a difficult watch for sure. I really felt the nihilism and the lack of purpose that this character felt and how they output all of their bad feelings into something else. For me it's drinking, for him it was getting involved in a mobile game. But this really speaks to a lot of the themes that are present in the show, and it really has a lot to say about today's culture of isolation and selfishness. And you can see that even in the first episode with the character of Taichi the hippo. He's trying to do anything he can to go viral to gain approval and validation of everyone around him. And you can see through the course of the show how this leads to egotistical behaviour and mental distress. It might be on the back burner to the mystery of the show, but there's definitely themes of mobile phones rotting our brains and the internet being really bad for us. You get that feeling while you're watching the show that all the characters are searching for meaning in a meaningless world. But it also speaks to how good the side characters are in this show because they're all interesting. But I hope what I had to say makes you go watch it and enjoy it for yourself. And if you did enjoy the video, please tell me in the comments down below and tell me if you want to see me do some more videos on anime because I quite enjoyed it. I certainly do watch a lot of anime because I'm a massive weeb. Persona!
Everybody knows you never go full retard.
And I really want to do a video where I dissect the ending to this show because the ending to this show is amazing. No spoilers. I am dying to rant about the ending to this show because I just want to, have a dialogue about, different theories and stuff. So that would be fun to do. Let me know if you want to see that. But anyway, thank you for watching and I will see you later.